The Golden State Warriors are officially back. After winning 3 championships in a 4-year span, the Warriors went on a brief hiatus of about 2 years, let the rest of the NBA do their thing, and now they're back. It's entirely not a coincidence that said hiatus lined up with the same 2 years that everyone's favorite sharpshooting two-guard Klay Thompson missed due to a pair of devastating leg injuries. Because for as many headlines as Steph Curry and Kevin Durant stole during the Warriors' dynasty run, Klay Thompson has always been the low-key, unheralded weapon to unlocking the Warriors' greatness. And here's how Klay Thompson became an underrated star. After missing the playoffs for 12 straight seasons, the Golden State Warriors would grab the 8th seed in the West in 2006-07. Led by Baron Davis, sophomore Monte Ellis, Jason Richardson, and Steven Jackson, the We Believe Warriors would take down league MVP Dirk Nowitzki and the Dallas Mavericks in 6 games, becoming the first 8th seed to ever beat a 1 seed in a 7-game playoff series. Unfortunately, this group would lose in the second round to the Utah Jazz, but hey, at least it was fun, and the future was obviously very bright. Ooh. Except not so much, as despite going 48-34 in the 07-08 season, G-State would narrowly miss the playoffs in a stacked West. Boom! Meanwhile, as we were no longer believing in the Warriors, a young babyface Klay Thompson was wrapping up a stellar career at Santa Margarita Catholic High School. He averaged 21 points a game in his senior year, leading his team to a 30-5 record as well as a Division III state championship appearance. Thompson was a highly decorated high schooler, being named Div 3 State Player of the Year, League MVP, First Team Best in the West, and an EA Sports Second Team All-American. The 08-09 season was a lost one for Golden State, as they'd limped to a 29-53 record after losing most key parts of that 07 roster. Klay, however, enjoyed a successful freshman campaign at Washington State University, starting all 33 games he played in, while being named Pac-10 All-Freshman. The 2009 NBA Draft will forever be etched in history as a transition point for the league as a whole. And just a friendly reminder to Timberwolves fans to zone out for a couple seconds here, avoid a whole lot of pain. The Golden State Warriors selected point guard Stephen Curry out of Davidson with the 7th overall pick in the draft, right after the aforementioned T-Wolves used consecutive picks at 5 and 6 on Ricky Rubio and Johnny Flynn. Why? That pick didn't pay immediate dividends for the Warriors though, as they'd go just 26 and 56 in 09-10, although Steph did finish as runner-up for Rookie of the Year to Tyreke Evans. Klay saw his production at Washington State skyrocket, from about 13 points a game as a freshman to just under 20 a game as a sophomore. That was good for second in the conference, as he was named All Pac-10 First Team. For as great as the Warriors draft record looks as a whole over the past decade or so, they did have some bad misses. For example, they took Ekpe Udoh out of Baylor with the 6th overall pick in 2010, ahead of names like Paul George and Gordon Hayward. In the 2010 offseason though, they landed a big name in free agency. Not LeBron James, not Chris Bosh, not Amari Stoudemire, but David Lee. I joke, but Lee was fresh off an all-star appearance with the Knicks and looked like a perennial 2010 guy. Also of note during the summer of 2010, Chris Cohan sold the Warriors to a group led by Peter Guber and Joe Lacob for a then NBA record $450 million. Oh, also Keith Smart was promoted to head coach. Congrats, Keith! Unfortunately, the big summer didn't bear fruit immediately in the Bay, as the Warriors would go 36 and 46 in 10-11, once again missing the playoffs. A mid-season trade did see them move Dan Gadzuric and Brandon Wright in exchange for Troy Murphy and a 2012 second rounder, which was actually a super important trade for the franchise. Also of importance, Klay Thompson finishing his junior year at Washington State, averaging just under 22 points a game, setting a Pac-10 tournament record with 43 points and 8 threes in a game, seeing his profile jump leaps and bounds heading into the 2011 NBA Draft. The draft itself was headlined by Kyrie Irving and Derek Williams, who would eventually be drafted with the first 2 picks. But in hindsight, the real value was unearthed towards the end of the lottery, which is where the 21-year-old two-guard was projected to land.
I think scouts and GMs are finally seeing that I'm not just one-dimensional, and that I'm more versatile, more complete than people give me credit for, I think.
And the team to see that was the Golden State State Warriors, who picked Thompson 11th overall. Then GM Larry Riley praised Klay's ability to shoot the ball, which he displayed in waves during his college career. He also cited a belief that Klay would develop into a strong defender as a reason for picking him. Additionally, during the 2011 offseason, our guy Keith Smart was relieved of his coaching duties after just one season, getting replaced by, mama, there goes that man, Mark Jackson. Also, Bob Myers was added to the Warriors front office, hired on as an assistant GM. Once again, however, great change off the court did not yearn results on the court, as during the lockout-shortened 11-12 season, the Warriors would limp to a 23-43 record. Steph Curry played just 26 games due to his infamous ankle injuries. The brightest spot during the season for Golden State would indeed be Klay Thompson. As a rookie, Thompson would average just under 13 points a game during his first campaign in the association, but it was really a tale of two halves. Over the first 38 games of the season, Klay would come off the bench for Mark Jackson's group, and he posted a moderate line of 8 points, 2 rebounds, 1 assist per game in about 17 minutes a night. On March 13th, 2012 though, incumbent starting two-guard Monte Ellis was traded to Milwaukee, along with Ekpe Udoh and Kwame Brown, in exchange for Andrew Bogut. This allowed Klay Thompson to slide into the starting lineup, and over the final 28 games of the season, he'd average 18.6 points in 34 minutes per game. Klay had arrived and was named to the all-rookie first team for his efforts. After spending just one season as AGM, in the summer of 2012, Bob Myers was promoted to general manager of the Warriors. His first stretch as the big boss saw him kill it at the draft. Golden State would select Harrison Barnes 7th overall, Festus Ezeli 30th overall, and with the pick acquired in the mundane trade I referenced earlier, Draymond Green 35th overall. See, I told you that trade was important. Myers also pushed his chips all in, signing Steph Curry to a 4-year contract extension, a move that was questioned by many thanks to Curry's nagging lower leg injuries. For Klay Thompson, it was a summer of humility and growth, as despite having solidified himself as a legit NBAer, he would dabble in the Summer League in 2012. As well, he'd spend 5 days working as a part of a scout team for Team USA ahead of the London Olympics, impressing some of the established talent along the way.
Yeah, I like Klay a lot, man. He's a fine young player, man. I hope he continues to work and continues to improve. I mean, he has a bright future.
Spoiler alert on that one. Kobe was correct. Klay saw his individual numbers take a considerable leap in his second NBA season, putting up 16.6 points a game on 42, 40, 84% shooting splits. Steph Curry would set an NBA record with 272 made threes in the season, while Steph and Klay together combined for a record 483 triples on the season. Mark Jackson would state as a matter of fact that his dynamic duo was indeed the greatest shooting backcourt in the history of the NBA, while Warriors writer Brian Witt coined the infamous term Splash Brothers for Klay and Steph in a tweet from the team account. More importantly, the Warriors made the playoffs in 2013 after posting a 47-35 regular season record. The Dubs would beat Denver in round 1 and lined up against the Hall of Fame-laden San Antonio Spurs in round 2. After scoring 30-plus points just twice in the regular season, Klay Thompson had a true bust-out performance in Game 2 against the Spurs. He dropped 34 points, 14 rebounds to go along with 3 steals, torching San Antonio from distance as he shot 8 of 9 from 3.
And here is Klay Thompson hitting the 3!
Now, Golden State would lose that series in 6 games, but that was the first of many iconic playoff explosions from Klay Thompson. After pleasantly surprising the masses in the 2013 playoffs, expectations were now in place for the upstart Warriors core. Golden State was once again able to make a splash in free agency as they inked former All-Star Andre Iguodala to a 4-year deal. For Klay, rounding out his offensive attack was the main goal heading into his 3rd season.
Yeah, my decision making and just my moves around the rim. You know, my outside shot will always be my staple in my game.
Those improvements would show through in the 2013-14 season, as on the whole, Thompson would see his numbers jump up again, up to 18 points a game while shooting 42% from deep. More specifically, Klay finished around the rim at a 64% clip, up from 61% the season prior. And the season started with a literal bang for our guy, as Klay would drop a season-high 38 points on 15 of 19 shooting against the Lakers on opening night. night. Unfortunately though, there weren't any similar explosions to come during the 2014 playoffs, as Thompson would dip below his season average and score just 16 points a game in the Warriors' first round loss to the Clippers. It was a disappointing result for the Warriors, who had seemingly fulfilled their lofty expectations going into the regular season, finishing 51-31. But losing Andrew Bogut prior to the playoffs would prove to be a hearty blow. As well, the organization was all sorts of messy off the court. At one point, then assistant coach Brian Scalabrine was demoted to the D-League by Mark Jackson because of a quote, difference in philosophies. Just prior to the playoffs, another assistant, Darren Ehrman, was fired for secretly recording conversations, leading to reports that it was quote, an increasingly dysfunctional atmosphere on the Warriors coaching staff. Oh yeah, you don't say.
No. Come fix this.
As a result of all of those shenanigans, Mark Jackson was indeed fired following the playoffs in a hotly debated move at the time, with Steve Kerr hired to replace him. It was also a busy offseason for Klay Thompson. He would sign a new 4-year contract extension worth $68 million that would keep him in the Bay through 2019. As the 2014 offseason also included a mind-blowing what-if scenario. Prior to being traded to the Cavaliers, Kevin Love was nearly traded by Minnesota to Golden State in exchange for Klay Thompson. Love was coming off a dominant 26-13 season, was a perimeter threat, and was loved around the league, so the deal made sense on paper. However, it was Jerry West who reportedly nixed the deal for the Warriors, threatening to quit his job as head consultant for the team if it went through, citing Love's poor defense as a reason to not make the trade. I'll tell you, there is nothing I want more in life than to have a leaked video of Jerry West throwing a tantrum to prevent that trade. What an absolute icon. Steve Kerr would breathe new life into the Warriors system, immediately delivering on expectations that he would unlock Steph Curry and Klay Thompson. For Curry, the 14-15 season was the final stop on his road to finally being viewed as a full-blown superstar. He'd win league MVP as the Warriors rolled to a 67-15 record. While Steph rightfully took home a number of accolades and heaps of praise for his season, this also demarcated the Splash Bros into separate camps. Steph, the leader and superstar, with Klay Thompson being the supporting sidekick. Now, I'm not here trying to rewrite history. Steph is Steph. He's always been the guy. But it does feel like our admiration for number 30 came at a cost for our appreciation of number 11. Klay Thompson once again improved in 14-15, averaging 21.7 points a game on sparkling 46, 44, 88% shooting splits. In the second game of the season, Klay once again torched the Lakers for a then career high 41 points on 14 of 18 shooting, just ridiculously filthy. Over the next 37 games of the season, he'd ease into a clear supporting role, scoring 30 points in a game just twice. But on January 23rd, 2015, that changed. Playing against the Kings, Klay Thompson would set a new career high of 52 points on 16 of 25 shooting, highlighted by an NBA record 37 points in the third quarter alone. He shot 13 for 13 in the quarter, including 9 of 9 from deep, which is also a record, obviously, cementing himself as more than just your typical number 2 option. He was a flamethrower of the highest order. The Splash Bros finished 1-2 in threes made on the season for the second year in a row, while Klay Thompson was both an All-Star and named All-NBA third team for the first time in his career. As we know, 2015 was a year of destiny for the Warriors. They swept the Pelicans in round 1, with Klay dropping 25 a game on 49% from deep. He dipped below his season average a touch in both rounds 2 and 3 against the Grizzlies and Rockets respectively, but the value of Thompson shone through as the go-to perimeter defender for the Warriors, who were able to routinely hide Curry off the ball. The Warriors matched up with LeBron James and the Cleveland Cavaliers for the first time in 2015. The Cavs were dealt a blow when Kyrie Irving was felled to a knee injury late in Game 1, putting them at a serious disadvantage as they were already without Kevin Love. In a Game 2 loss, Klay put forward his best effort of the series, scoring 34 points and hitting 4 threes. After falling behind 2-1 in the series, Steve Kerr made a change to insert Andre Iguodala into the starting lineup in place of Andrew Bogut, and the new death lineup would win 3 straight games to clinch a ring. Following the championship, Golden State would fully embrace their game-changing small ball mentality, trading David Lee in a cap dump to Boston, as Draymond Green had forced his way into the starting lineup the season prior. With minimal other changes to the roster, the Golden State Warriors went out and had a pretty good 2015-16 season, and by pretty good I mean they shattered every single NBA record known to man. I don't have time to break down every record set by the Warriors, but as we know, they went 73-9, Steph Curry was MVP in a unanimous vote, Curry, Klay, and Draymond were All-Stars, and the NBA belonged to the Warriors. Individually, Klay made All-NBA third team for the second straight season, as he finished 12th in scoring in the league, averaging another career high 22.1 points per game. Klay's value as the league's premier catch-and-shoot threat was on full display in 2016, as he set a still-held record of 322 made catch-and-shoot threes in 2016, including the playoffs. During the All-Star break, Klay would beat Steph Curry and Devin Booker at the three-point contest, further raising his profile as a one-of-a-kind marksman. The Warriors cruised past Houston in round 1 of the 2016 playoffs, but lost Curry to injury in the process. This left the door open just a crack for a potential upset at the hands of the Portland Trail Blazers in round 2, but Klay Thompson said no. With Steph only returning for games 4 and 5, Klay would run amok on the Blazers for 31 points a game on insane 50-50 94% shooting splits, showing that he indeed could be the guy when given the chance. With Steph back healthy though, the Warriors ran into a buzzsaw in the West Finals, as the Kevin Durant-led OKC Thunder got out to a commanding 3-1 series lead in quick order. Golden State would fight back with a 9-point win in Game 5. And in Game 6, well, Klay Thompson's nickname is Game 6 Klay, so yeah. Thompson would carry the load for the Warriors in a hostile road environment, scoring 41 points on 11 of 18 shooting from deep, including 19 points in the fourth quarter alone. Undoubtedly one of the greatest performances in playoff NBA history, Klay and the Warriors stunned OKC and would eventually complete the comeback with an 8-point Game 7 victory. After vanquishing what seemed like their biggest threat in round 3, the Warriors lined up for a rematch against LeBron and the Cavaliers. Despite the Cavs being healthy this time around, Golden State was able to jump out to a dominant 3-1 series lead of their own, with Klay Thompson coasting, having scored just 15 points a game. Now, each of you watching this probably knows the story like the back of your hand, but here's what happened next. Draymond Green would be suspended for Game 5 of the series after being assessed a retroactive flagrant foul call at the end of Game 4. Klay Thompson would score 37 points for the Warriors, but the Cavs won by 15. Draymond returned for Game 6, but LeBron James' 41 points were too much to overcome, and the Cavs won by 14. In a do-or-die Game 7 for the ages, Cleveland was able to outlast the Warriors at Oracle Arena, stunning the NBA world with the first 3-1 series comeback in NBA Finals history. Perhaps incited by that finals loss, perhaps having planned to make the move regardless, in the summer of 2016, the Golden State Warriors signed former MVP Kevin Durant to a 2-year contract. This move is probably the single most impactful signing in NBA history, as the already record-setting Warriors got infinitely better on paper. Klay Thompson would play alongside new teammate Kevin Durant as well Draymond Green at the Rio 2016 Olympics. He finished 5th on the team in scoring as the US won gold.
But it's just been nice to get away from the game and take a little break and kind of reset the batteries and, take this new journey head on.
The new look Warriors were full value in 2016-17, winning 67 games with each member of their Big Four being named an All-Star. Despite projections that he would see his numbers dip with the addition of Kevin Durant, Klay Thompson set a new career high in scoring for the 6th straight season, averaging 22.3 points a game. Over the first quarter of the season, Klay had settled nicely into his role on the team, scoring about 20 points a game, when on December 5th, 2016, he once again went nuclear. Against the Pacers, Thompson would score a career-high 60 points on 21 of 33 shooting in just 29 minutes played. He became the first Warrior to hit the 60-point mark since the days of Rick Barry and Wilt Chamberlain. Even more impressively, Klay scored 60 on just 11 total dribbles of the basketball, showing his revolutionary impact as a catch-and-shoot artist. This man was the third option on those Warriors teams. They didn't even let him dribble the ball, and he was still putting up 60. What a time to be alive. Come playoff time, Thompson did begin to struggle while the Warriors continued to soar. He'd averaged just 15 points a game on the whole for the 2017 playoffs, shooting just 40% from the field and 39% from deep. But when the lights were at their brightest, so was Klay. In Game 3 of the finals against Cleveland, the Cavs pushed Golden State to the brink with a chance to get back in the series. But Klay played his best game of the postseason, dropping 30 points on 11 of 18 shooting. The Warriors would hold on and eventually win their second ring in 3 years. The Warriors Warriors truly epitomized the Thanos quote, "Reality can be whatever I want," as thanks to their shrewd cap management, they lost nothing of importance from their 2017 winning roster. Kevin Durant restructured his contract and took a little bit less money to keep the core intact, a small price to pay for salvation, while Steph Curry was extended on a 5-year supermax. For the second season in a row, each of the Warriors' big four was an all-star. Klay Thompson saw his raw numbers dip just a bit for the first time in his career, but he still averaged 20 points a game on his purest shooting percentages ever, 49% from the field and 44% from deep. Golden State dispatched the Spurs in 5 games, the Pelicans in 5, and the Rockets in a tough 7-game series. LeBron and the Cavs couldn't live with their failure, and where did it bring them? Back to the Warriors. The Dubs would steamroll Cleveland in a 4-game sweep, winning their 3rd ring in 4 seasons. In these years as an overqualified second, then third option alongside Steph and KD, Klay Thompson became the greatest spot-up shooter we've ever seen. He shot a league-best 44% on catch-and-shoot threes between 2015 and 2019. The 2018 offseason was where questions began to arise about the future of the Warriors dynasty. The team was heading towards having to pay both luxury and repeater tax the following season, with Durant needing a new, probably massive contract extension. Additionally, the 18-19 season would be the last year under contract for Klay Thompson, who hadn't yet signed an extension, as he'd be eligible for a 5-year deal in the summer of 2019. Still though, the core remained intact, and the Warriors finished with a 57-25 record. Klay Thompson put forward another tremendous season, averaging 21.5 points per game and being named an all-star for the 5th straight season. Klay did stumble out the gates in 2018, shooting just 14% from 3 over the first 7 games of the season. But on October 29th, we were once again treated to a signature Thompson explosion. Against the Bulls, he'd score 52 points on 18 of 29 shooting, including an NBA record 14 3-pointers. He did so in just 26 minutes played and broke the record with 7 minutes left in the 3rd quarter. What? He'd have another pair of signature performances in the 18-19 season, scoring 43 points on 4 dribbles against the Knicks, as well 44 points on 17 of 20 shooting against the Lakers. More importantly, Klay Thompson was finally rewarded by the media for his work on the defensive end of the court.
Yeah, it's always been a goal of mine. By myself, I'm playing both sides of the ball, and that'd be awesome. Like all defensive team.
And he did just that. All defensive second team in 2019. Oh boy, the 2019 playoffs. It was a roller coaster for the Warriors, let me tell you. A healthy unit beat the Clippers in 6 games in round 1. But in round 2, Kevin Durant would suffer a calf injury which would keep him out of the final 2 games of the series. In game 5 and a closeout game 6, Klay Thompson would step up in his absence, scoring 27 points in each game. Without KD for the entirety of the West final, it seemed once again like there might be an opportunity for the Blazers to beat Golden State. Psych! Steph Curry would average 37 points a game in a sweep. Klay contributed 22 a game while helping to hold Damian Lillard well below his season averages. In arguably his greatest stretch of play ever, Klay Thompson stepped up big time in the 2019 NBA Finals with Kevin Durant sidelined to injury. Klay scored 21 points in a Game 1 loss, then 25 points in a Game 2 win. He was held out of Game 3 thanks to a strained hamstring, but returned to score 24 points in Game 4. Kevin Durant came back to play 12 minutes in Game 5 before tearing his Achilles, but Klay would go on to score 26 points, including the dagger triple to seal a win with 57 seconds remaining.
Iguodala back out to Green. Thompson, one fake, one dribble, one shot. Got it! Golden State retakes the lead.
Thompson would go full superhero mode in Game 6, scoring 30 points on 8 of 12 shooting in just 32 minutes of action as the Warriors were on the brink. But with time waning in the 3rd quarter, Klay would fall awkwardly on a dunk attempt, tearing the ACL in his left knee. He'd actually return to the court, taking and making a pair of free throws with that torn ACL before exiting the game and the series once and for all. It is quite honestly baffling to think back on everything that's happened since that June 2019 evening, both in basketball terms and real life. The Toronto Raptors would hang on to defeat the depleted Warriors in the 2019 finals. The Golden State dynasty as we knew it would go on hiatus, as while he recovered from his torn Achilles, Kevin Durant would sign a free agent deal with the Brooklyn Nets. Klay Thompson would ink a 5-year, $190 million deal with the Warriors just days before undergoing ACL surgery, which caused him to miss the entire 2019-20 season. Golden State then gutted their roster. Out was Durant, Iguodala, DeMarcus Cousins, Sean Livingston. In was D'Angelo Russell, Glenn Robinson, and eventually Andrew Wiggins. Steph Curry would join his splash bro on the shelf, playing just 5 total games during the 19-20 season as the Warriors won just 15 games in the COVID-shortened season. Oh yeah, there was also a global pandemic, right? James Wiseman was drafted 2nd overall in 2020, and on September 5th, 2020, Klay Thompson finally returned to practice after missing over a full calendar year. Steve Kerr said Klay's presence gave them a jolt of energy, and he was shocked to see him in such great form. Unfortunately, disaster would strike once again for Klay, as just a couple months later, the Warriors announced that Thompson had torn his right Achilles tendon while working out in LA.
It was just an unfortunate series of events, nothing I could have ever prepared for nor prevented. I was working my butt off for 10 months up to that point, and just you got to go back to the drawing board. I knew I did it right away, and it's in the past, but I'm getting better every day.
Klay Thompson would miss a 2nd straight season, and despite Steph Curry's individual heroics in 2021, the Warriors would miss the playoffs for a 2nd straight season. But after a strong offseason, which included drafting Jonathan Kuminga 7th overall, adding depth pieces like Otto Porter, Nemanja Bjelica, and an old face Andre Iguodala, the Warriors flew out the gate to begin the 2021-22 season, with Steph Curry playing at an MVP level, Draymond Green finding himself once again at a Defensive Player of the Year level, Andrew Wiggins playing the best basketball of his career, and many role players such as Jordan Poole finding their footing. The road through the Western Conference once again appears to be heading through the Bay. On January 9th, 2022, after missing 2 full seasons of NBA basketball, Klay Thompson returned to the court for the Warriors. As if his game-changing ability to explode for a barrage of buckets, his lockdown perimeter defense, and his record-setting spot-up shooting ability wasn't enough to convince you, his improbable fight to get back on the court after 2 devastating lower leg injuries, well, it's just another example of the greatness of Klay Thompson.
I'm more motivated than ever as well, and I want a championship so bad, more than anything.